I also struggle with my weight most of my life, starting in like junior high. And I went to Tops Club with my mom. And one of my proudest moments as a junior in high school was I was Tops Princess that year because I actually reached a goal. And I would just always yo-yo diet and tried many, many different things. I also did the Stillman water diet one time. Um, I did a tuna fish diet where you could eat like 5 things over and over and over again. I was in Weight Watchers many different times. And one time I was 1 pound away from my lifetime goal in Weight Watchers and then went right back up again. So it's just was very much yo-yo dieting. And I would set limits to myself. Like I will never go from a size 14 to a 16. 14 is my limit. Then what happens when your clothes are too tight? You go to a 16. So then it was like, well, I'm never going to go over 200 pounds. And I would get up to 200 and I would diet my way back a little bit down and I'd get back up again and I'd diet my way back up, down again. And so I would always like yo-yo diet, just trying to stay in a range. My father was in the military. My husband was in the military. So I'm a good rule follower. So I would always try to do that. And then one time it just kept going and I wasn't able to keep it in, context anymore. And I was getting larger and frustrated, of course. And I even went for a period of time where I ate 800 calories a day for 2 years to keep at a goal weight that I thought I needed to be at. And I had 3 little kids and I was eating 800 calories a day. So that is not a really good way to live your life at all. And so a couple of years ago, we discovered internet keto. And we were doing also, just like Pat, we were doing the fat bombs, we were doing the bulletproof coffee and all of that. And I lost a little bit of weight and then I just stalled out and I couldn't get any more off. And so I thought, well, keto isn't going to work either. And Esther, who spoke last night, she's my sister-in-law. And so she had discovered you and told us about you. And she did the KMS Masterclass #1. And she was so enthusiastic about it and just so happy and successful that I decided that January, when I was at like an all-time high, I'll tell you, I was at 225 pounds at that point. And so I joined KMS too. And like I just said, I am a rule follower, and page 4 was my set of rules. There they were right there. And all I had to do was follow them. And it was so simple for me to just follow the list. And I was strict. And, everyone, you have things that come up in life and life happens, right? So 6 months into the group, my father was on dialysis and he stopped dialysis and decided he couldn't do it anymore. And I flew home to take care of him for 2 weeks until he died. And everybody in the group was so supportive. And I also was totally able to do keto the whole time. In fact, I kind of felt like so much was out of my control during that period of time that was one thing I could be in control of, was what I ate and what I put into my body. So it actually made sense to me to follow it. And I went through a very, very stressful time. And then I had to clean out his apartment and everything. And a month later, my husband had a heart attack. And he was following your plan as well. And actually, the cardiologist was very supportive. He said that if we hadn't been following this way of eating, it probably would have been much worse for him. And my husband, it's been 1.5 years now. He's doing great. He didn't have any damage to his heart. He had a stent replaced and everything, but he's doing wonderful. And we're very fortunate that we have a cardiologist that actually supports that. So, but yeah, we had 4 surgeries in our family this last year. And it's just, what I'm trying to say is, in the past, I would have been an emotional eater. I would have comforted myself with, carbs and things like that. And I don't do that anymore at all. I just eat the things that I know are going to be good for me and that are going to nourish me. And I get through them without having to resort to things that I shouldn't. And I have to be honest, when I do these talks, I get very nervous. So tonight, before I got on, I had bacon to just kind of calm myself down and just to relax a little bit. And so I've also went to one of the keto events in Atlanta, and I got to meet you and Amy and Lisa and Glenn. And I just want you all to know they're the real deal. They are down to earth. They're wonderful. They're caring. They are passionate about what they're doing. They want only the best for us. And that touched my heart greatly to see how real and authentic you guys are. That was very, very great experience. And throughout the last 2 years, I've become friends with different members. Pat that just spoke, she has been to my home and stayed at my home for a couple of days. We've become great friends. Eric Burden and I are good friends. We met in Atlanta, and everybody is just very caring, very loving, very supportive. And I'm just so grateful that I found you guys, because it's been a game changer in my life. And I've lost 50 pounds so far. I've maintained it for a year, if anyone wants to know that. And I just, look forward to continuing on.
I was in KMS 1, and my journey is decades long. I am a beautiful yo-yo dieter, and not sustainable at all. It would be like I would get very, very close to my goal weight, and I'd start panicking because I knew there's no way I could keep this off. And how can, I love being in a smaller size, but, I'm not going to be able to stay here, so why bother? And I went to a conference back in 2018, and I got to hear Dr. Westman for the first time. I got to hear Amy for the first time, and Jackie Eberstein, several other speakers. And the one that resonated with me the most was Dr. Westman, because of the simplicity of it. And I'm going, I think I can do this one. And I went and talked with both Dr. Westman and Amy there. And they said, just wait, something's coming here, something's coming. And that's so I got on ADAPT's website and emails and that's where I got the information for the first Keto Made Simple course. And I signed up, and there's no going back, no going back. I echo with Jennifer. The first thing was no cravings. And I'm going like, what? I don't have the mad screaming munchies, and I'm not raiding the refrigerator at the middle of the night. And the thing that was one of the key things for me was the simplicity of the course. And I'm going like, this is something that it's so simple. I don't have to have it in front of me. I don't have to have an app in my hand. I don't have to figure out how many points and, everything of that nature. It was very, very easy. My aha moment was in January. I joined in November, end of November. My first week of January, I went to Disney World for a week. And I'm going like, if I can do this and maintain, great. I lost weight. I walked my husband into the ground. I had more energy than anybody on the thing. And it was so simple staying on the list. It was, traveling through an airport, traveling on the airplane, going into the parks, going out to dinner. Every meal was out to dinner. And it was so easy to do. And I'm going like, this I can do. This is life. For me, I travel a lot, and it was just the simplicity of it. And with this, yes, it's gone up and down like crazy for me, but I'm a data freak. I weigh every week. I record it every week. And so I have these lovely graphs and everything, but the overall downward trend is what's the beautiful thing to watch. And my health has improved so much. I don't have the joint pain. I don't have, my blood pressure medication is cut in half. I had a family history of diabetes, heart, and cancer, and that was a huge motivator for me to even look for some way to lose the weight and get healthy. And I have not gotten any of the diabetes, the heart problems. I've had all the cardiac scans and everything. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. My doctor is amazed. And she says, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. Keep doing it. So I'm going like, okay. And it has helped so much. And I've spread it around, got family members joining and other friends, and it's wonderful. It's just being able to learn the diet or the food list becomes second nature. And the support you get online is the game changer, It truly is. The classes and everything. It's amazing.
Well, it's hard to kind of encapsulate decades of dieting and failure in just a few minutes. So I won't go into all of that because everybody probably identifies with repeated diets, failing, and getting to a crisis point. And that's pretty much where I was at this crisis point. I remember sitting at the computer and I'd seen the ad pop up and I'm like, oh, I don't know. And then I'd kind of pass by and there was like only a couple days left. And I just kept thinking about it because in a word, I was just desperate, you guys, pretty desperate because I had come to a place where I had been fasting a whole lot. I had pretty much given up on the whole dieting thing. And after trying everything, I just figured I must have the bad metabolic gene in my family and I'm just going to be fat because nothing works and I'm sick of it until my doctor told me that I was on my way to prediabetes. Well, then I realized I had a whole nother problem to deal with. So I gave up sugar and, tried to just start with a couple rules, which was I had to figure out something that was going to work where I was not going to be hungry. Because every diet I ever did, I was hungry. And that was a big problem for me. I needed something sustainable. Every diet I ever did, every approach I did was not sustainable. And I wanted to enjoy it. So those were kind of like my 3 rules. And I came into fasting first because I thought, well, that was kind of popular back then. And I thought, okay, well, there's something I've never tried. How about just not eating? Surely I'll lose weight doing that, right? Yeah, but guess what? You get really hungry when you don't eat. I wasn't one of those people where fasting was like fantastic and you felt great and had euphoria. That did not happen for me. I was struggling through and found the keto diet online. And so tried it for a while. It worked for a while, but I got sick of 1 meal a day because that's where I was. That's the only way I could make my version of keto that I was following on the internet work. And so I added a second meal and started gaining weight. Was getting on the scale, the whole up and down. I didn't know about the scale. So I was pretty desperate and I had a lot of health issues. I knew keto was good for me and that some of my inflammation was down, but I had suffered with insomnia for over 20 years, waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, can't go back to sleep. I had a lot of joint pain. I had a lot of health issues and those were not improving. So when I saw the ad for the masterclass, I thought, what could I possibly learn? I've been doing keto for 2 years. How is this going to be different? And do I really want to pay for something and start something? Why don't I just wait till after the thing? Why don't I wait till after Thanksgiving? Oh, but then there's Christmas. And then after Christmas, there's going to be this. And so I found myself making these excuses where there's always going to be like the next thing. And I thought, well, I just can't. I have to get this right. So Dr. Westman, I had heard him speak and on a seminar that I had taken. And he was talking about this as being a prescription strength diet and that it works the first time every time. And that's really what I guess sold me because I thought I've got to do something. Because what do you do when fasting isn't working? And my version of keto wasn't working and I did not want to continue on this path. So that's what got me to join. I was hopeless. I had withdrawn from life. I had withdrawn from social media at this point. I was tired of being embarrassed. I was ashamed. I was afraid, I might see people that knew me before I was really fat decades ago. I mean, I lived in this prison and I needed a lifeline. And so I decided, sometimes it takes a measure of trust to do something different, because I thought, okay, well, what makes this different? I've been told by lots of other diets that this is the thing that works. But I knew if I wanted a different answer, I was going to have to try something different. So I'm glad I didn't give up. And I jumped in, and it was unlike anything I'd ever done.
I started low carb back in 1968, and I wanted to lose a few pounds. My mom was on Stillman's quick weight loss diet, and I thought, well, why not? And I followed it for a little bit, lost a few pounds, life was good. And I stayed that way until the medical healthcare community rose up with all the popularity of Dr. Atkins and low carb and started talking about the evils of low carb. And I listened to them only because they were professionals, and I was young and too stupid to realize that they didn't know what they were doing. And I lost the weight. I kept it off until I listened to them. And then I went back to the standard American diet, and I gained weight. And I gained weight, and I gained more weight. So then I went on this roller coaster ride of the ups and downs of trying every weight loss gimmick out there. Weight Watchers, OptiFast. I didn't eat any solid food for 3 months. I only drank the 3 shakes. I lost my gallbladder in the process. And Deal-A-Meal. The only thing I learned from Deal-A-Meal is I'm a carb cheat. So it's one of those things that, you go through and you do all these crazy things to get it together. So I thought, well, low carb worked for me when I was younger. Why don't I just go and do low carb? And then I got into the area of keto. Now, I'll tell you up front, I don't use the word keto. People ask me, what did you do to lose weight? You look great. You feel great. Even my doctors. I don't use the word keto because there is crazy out there, and it darn near killed me. How many of us have heard about eating fat bombs? You have to eat fat, the bulletproof coffee, add this, do that. My body can't tolerate a lot of fat. I was born with a congenital issue with my pancreas. And if I eat high fat, I get pancreatitis. And I had 2 separate 4-day stints in the hospital on IV only, not even ice chips. And it was miserable. And it was because I was listening to them about eat the MCT oil, do the fat bombs, do this, do that. And I thought, well, keto's going to kill me. But I didn't give up hope. I did go back to Weight Watchers. I lost 35 pounds, and there I stayed. And I wanted to eat anything that moved or didn't move. And the cats were even looking over their shoulder at me like, what are you looking at? I mean, it was just an awful feeling for me. And then I thought, well, Dr. Westman has a clinic, and he sees real people. He treats real people. He helps real people. I'm just going to make a trek down to North Carolina, and I'm just going to sign up and see if I can see Dr. Westman, because this man has his head on straight. And I might not be able to eat keto, but maybe he can figure out what he can do with me. So I looked up Dr. Westman on the internet. I contacted the office, and I found out that you can get what we know as page 4, but it's the food list. It's the food list we all got with this. And when I did that, I purchased the list, and then I sat there and looked at it, and I was too scared to get back in it because I kept thinking about pancreatitis. And then I got an email from Dr. Westman that said, hey, we're starting this new KMS, Keto Made Simple. If I was willing to go to North Carolina, and I was, then here I can stay at home and do this. And I signed up for Keto Made Simple, and one of the first videos that Dr. Westman presented, and oh Lord, you saved my life with these words. You don't need to add fat. You're going to burn your own. Being in ketosis means you're burning fat. You don't need to add it. And the heavens opened up and I realized I was in the right place. But the thing that I had to face was, what are you going to do this time differently so that you don't have to keep living this crazy roller coaster life? And through what I learned with Keto Made Simple, I learned about the processes of the body, and then it clicked. It finally clicked that just as I was born with blue eyes and dark hair, I was born with this body. And this body cannot process what we call food today. And it's not the same food that people ate for eons. It's not the same food that I grew up on. I grew up in the 50s and 60s. Processed foods and fast foods were just kind of starting to come into the forefront. I mean, there weren't even pizza parlors, for Pete's sakes. I mean, Chef Boyardee had that boxed pizza, and that was most of our first inkling with what pizza was. People were thinner then. People were not grossly overweight. You look at pictures from back then, and a group of people were thin. You look at a group of pictures now, of people in pictures now, and it's hard to find somebody who is of a normal weight. That's because food has changed. And our bodies aren't designed to eat that food. So I said, okay, if that's what I have to do, I'm going to eat real food. It's not keto food. This is not some special weird thing that just popped out of the earth and it's all a new trend or a fad. This is real food that people have been eating for eons. So I thought, okay, then normal food it is. And I learned to say no thank you to things. I also realized that I was still having a good time whether I ate something off plan or not. And in fact, I felt worse after I ate things off plan. They never tasted as good as I thought they were going to. And the remorse and then how it affected my body was far worse than any joy I got out of that 30 seconds over the tongue. And I learned from my mom, who developed congestive heart failure due to diabetes. She had type 2. She didn't really adjust her food. She depended on the doctors and the medicines they gave her. And that medicine doesn't cure you. It can kind of abate things, but it's not a cure. And what happened was she developed gangrene. It ate up her body. They couldn't operate because her heart had become too weak. And I decided, even though I didn't have diabetes, that I was not going to end up like that. And Mom and I had a lot of similarities. And I thought, if I stay on the path I'm on, I'm going to end up like Mom. And I had to watch her fade. If anybody has any kind of condition that can be improved by just changing food, really good, normal, great, nutritious food, there isn't anything in the world you're missing out on. And what I like to tell people is this: don't grieve for what you think you're giving up, but rejoice in what you're achieving. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.